Look up at the night sky. Breathe in the cold air. We are taught to see majesty in that darkness. We are told by generations of astronomers to marvel at the burning stars, to trace the constellations, and to feel a sense of wonder at the infinite canvas of the cosmos. Science textbooks paint a very specific, almost comforting picture of the universe. They explain the mechanics of celestial bodies with neat equations. And when they tell us about black holes, they use a familiar analogy. You probably picture a cosmic vacuum cleaner, a merciless, silent beast swallowing light, dust, and matter, a dead end where everything is crushed down into a microscopic, infinitely dense point of absolute death known as a singularity. That is the accepted truth. A clean, mathematical end to everything that has the misfortune of falling inside. But what if we have completely misunderstood the fundamental anatomy of the cosmos? What if the very foundation of our astrophysics is built on a misunderstanding of epic proportions? What if a black hole does not actually destroy matter at all? What if you are not looking at a celestial destroyer, but rather a colossal, interdimensional drainpipe? Tonight, we are going to tear apart the most terrifying paradox in quantum physics. We will dismantle the safe illusions provided by modern science. We are going to look past the absolute darkness of the event horizon and face a sickening, visceral possibility. The vast, infinite universe we call home, the reality we cherish, might just be the bottom of a multiverse trash dump. The lie of gravity and the information paradox. In our universe, disappearance is a myth. Nothing ever truly dies or vanishes without a trace. That is the bedrock of our physical reality. Quantum mechanics, the science of the impossibly small, screams this rule into the void. Information cannot be destroyed. Think about a physical object. If you take a heavy leather-bound book and throw it into a roaring fire, the book is gone from your sight. But the information that made up that book is not actually gone. It is just violently scrambled. The words, the paper, the binding have been converted into plumes of smoke, scattered piles of ash, and invisible waves of heat radiation. If you possessed a perfect godlike computer, you could theoretically gather every single particle of smoke, every trace of heat, and reverse the entire physical process to read the book again. Information is eternal. It is woven into the very fabric of existence. Yet, we have a massive, glaring problem sitting at the center of nearly every galaxy in the universe. Black holes. For decades, astrophysicists blindly trusted the calculations of brilliant minds like Stephen Hawking. He proved something entirely unexpected. He showed the world that black holes are not completely black. They leak. They slowly, agonizingly evaporate over trillions upon trillions of years, emitting a faint, ghostly hiss of thermal energy known to us as Hawking radiation. But here is the creeping horror hidden inside that discovery. That escaping radiation contains absolutely zero information. It is totally, completely random, a blank slate. So, when a dying star, a wandering planet, or an entire solar system falls into the crushing maw of a black hole, and that black hole eventually evaporates into absolute nothingness over the eons, where did the information go? It is completely wiped out from our universe. This is the infamous information paradox. It is not just a math problem. It is a conceptual nightmare that has fractured the scientific community and kept physicists awake in cold sweats. Because there are only two possible answers. Either the fundamental, bedrock laws of quantum mechanics that govern our entire reality are absolute garbage. Or, that swallowed matter, that crushed data, is spilling out somewhere else. It is bleeding through the invisible fabric of reality into another plane of existence. The matter is not destroyed. It is simply, violently flushed away. The structure of the exhaust pipe. You have probably heard the term wormhole. Science fiction cinema and literature love to romanticize this concept. They present it as a magical, glowing portal, a convenient, shimmering shortcut to travel across the galaxy, to colonize new worlds, or to meet ancient alien civilizations. We imagine sleek spaceships gliding effortlessly through a blinding tunnel of light, bending space and time to their will. But strip away the Hollywood fantasy. Peel back the layers of pop culture and look at the raw, cold, unforgiving math. The legendary physicist Albert Einstein and his brilliant colleague Nathan Rosen accidentally stumbled upon the mathematical blueprint for these tunnels hidden deep within the fabric of spacetime. They are officially known as the Einstein-Rosen bridge, but Einstein himself absolutely hated the terrifying implications of his own discovery. He actively tried to ignore it. He wanted nothing to do with it, because the underlying math does not describe a peaceful, majestic transit system for cosmic explorers. It describes a violent, catastrophic, one-way exhaust pipe. Imagine the immense, incomprehensible gravitational crushing force at the gaping mouth of a black hole. Anything crossing the invisible boundary of the event horizon is immediately subjected to forces that defy human imagination. You are stretched and torn apart, atom by atom, in a process brutally and almost comically called spaghettification. You do not survive the trip. Nothing survives the trip intact. You are ground down, pulverized into a microscopic stream of raw, fundamental quantum data. The immense, localized pressure forces this chaotic data down a microscopic, wildly unstable throat in the fabric of spacetime. There is absolutely no turning back. The gravity pulls with such sheer ferocity that not even the very concept of time makes sense anymore. Time stops, bends, and shatters. This is not a doorway. It is a cosmic garbage chute. It is violently purging excess mass, chaotic energy, and dead stars from one reality to another. And if a pipe is constantly pushing waste out with that level of force, it must have an exit. Somewhere, in the dark, that pipe has to burst open. So where does the pipe burst? The mathematics point to a mirror image of the cosmic drain. They call it a white hole. A white hole is the ultimate, untouchable fortress. You cannot cross its event horizon from the outside. Not even a single photon of light can push its way in against the outward pressure. Its sole function is to expel, to violently vomit radiation, heat, and raw quantum material out into the void. It is a cosmic geyser of regurgitated data. Astrophysicists usually dismiss them as mere mathematical anomalies, a quirky, theoretical byproduct of the equations. But let us stop looking at the chalkboards for a moment and look at the history of our own existence. Look at the origin of everything around you. Approximately 13.8 billion years ago, all space, time, and matter exploded outward from an infinitely dense point. We casually call it the Big Bang. We treat it as the sacred Genesis, the miraculous beginning of a beautiful, evolving story, but reframe that exact same physical event with the exhaust pipe theory. The Big Bang looks suspiciously, terrifyingly identical to the sudden, violent detonation of a supermassive white hole. The initial flash of our reality was not a divine, creative spark. It was the rupture of a cosmic sewage line. We are living inside the localized blast zone of a parent universe flushing its waste. Our stars, our planets, the very iron in your blood, all of it is reassembled garbage, recycled debris that was chewed up, compressed, and fired across the dimensional boundary. You might feel a desperate urge to reject this idea. It feels too insulting to human dignity. We want to be the center of a pristine creation, not the byproduct of dimensional waste management. But let us look at the physical evidence floating right above your head. Point a telescope at the edge of any spiral galaxy. Watch how the outermost stars rotate. They move far too fast. The visible matter, the glowing gas and the bright suns, simply do not possess enough gravitational pull to keep the galaxy from ripping itself apart and scattering into the dark. There is an invisible weight holding everything together. A massive, unseen anchor crushing down on the fabric of space. Modern astronomy calls it dark matter. It makes up a staggering 85% of all the mass in our universe. 85%. Let that number sink into your mind. Most of our reality is completely invisible, untouchable, and dead to our senses. Scientists currently spend billions of dollars building deep underground detectors, chilling vats of liquid xenon, hoping to catch a fleeting glimpse of a dark matter particle. They blindly assume it is just a new, exotic building block of nature waiting to be categorized. But the multiverse leak theory offers a much darker, much colder explanation. Dark matter is not a mysterious new particle. It is a graveyard. It is the pulverized, dead mass of a trillion alien worlds. It is the shattered remnants of civilizations that lived, fought, and died in a parent universe much older than ours, long before their galaxy was swallowed by a black hole and flushed into our dimension. It drifted through the Einstein-Rosen bridge, stripped of its ability to interact with light, stripped of its complex atomic structure, reduced to pure, dumb gravitational weight. When you step outside into the night and look up at the Milky Way, you are not standing under an empty canopy. You are standing in the middle of an invisible cosmic landfill. You are surrounded by the heavy, dead ash of a reality that ended long before ours began. And this cold ash is clumping together, forming the invisible, ghostly scaffolding that our own glowing galaxies cling to like desperate parasites. But you do not have to just take this as a dark philosophical thought experiment. There is actual, physical evidence burned into the very sky above us. We just had to know how to look at it. If you tune an old television set between stations, a small percentage of the static you see on that flickering screen is actual radiation left over from the birth of our universe. We call it the cosmic microwave background. It is the fading afterglow of the Big Bang itself. For decades, scientists mapped this radiation. They expected it to be perfectly smooth, a uniform blanket of heat distributed evenly across the absolute zero of the void. But the maps came back wrong. The sky is bruised. When you look at the highly detailed thermal maps generated by our most advanced satellites, you see violent anomalies. There are massive, unexplainable cold spots, and more terrifyingly, there are distinct, concentric rings of intense, unexplained heat. They are perfectly circular. They look exactly like the ripples created when you drop a heavy stone into a stagnant pond. The renowned mathematician Roger Penrose spent years analyzing these rings. He came to a conclusion that shook the cosmological establishment. These rings are not random fluctuations. He called them Hawking points. According to the mathematics of Roger Penrose, these immense rings of heat are physical scars. They are impact wounds on the fabric of our nascent reality. And what could possibly possess enough energy to scar the birth of a universe? The answer is a supermassive black hole from a previous eon. A gargantuan gravitational monster from a dead parent universe that managed to bleed its final, dying burst of Hawking radiation through the dimensional barrier just as our universe was violently expanding from its own white hole origin. The rings are echoes of a previous reality's trash disposal system leaking into our pristine nursery. We are living in a space that is visibly stained by the corpses of what came before us. And the nightmare does not stop with dark matter or ancient heat scars. There is another force tearing our universe apart from the inside out. We call it dark energy. It is an unseen, repulsive force that is accelerating the expansion of the cosmos. Every single second, the galaxies are flying away from each other at terrifying, incomprehensible speeds. Cosmologists are baffled by this. They cannot identify the source of this infinite energy. But if our universe is a cosmic trash bag, dark energy makes perfect, terrifying sense. When you stuff too much rotting waste into a sealed container, the internal pressure begins to build. Gases expand. The walls of the container stretch to their absolute breaking point. Dark energy is not a mysterious new force of nature. It is the physical bloating of our dying universe. The dimensional walls are expanding because the parent universe is still violently flushing its waste into our reality. The supermassive black holes from the dimension above us are still pouring pulverized matter into our space. We are filling up, the balloon is stretching, and eventually, the skin of our reality will inevitably pop. It is an event scientists whisper about, calling it the Big Rip, the moment when the pressure becomes too immense, and the very fabric of spacetime is shredded into absolute nothingness, scattering our recycled ashes into the freezing void of an even deeper, darker cosmic layer. Imagine the crushing psychological weight of this realization. Every war ever fought, every monumental discovery, every single tear shed by human eyes, all taking place on a speck of recycled dust. Look at the intricate, beautiful structures we observe through the James Webb Space Telescope, the glowing pillars of creation, the swirling cosmic dust clouds. We view them as art. But in the context of the multiverse leak, they are nothing more than beautifully illuminated toxic waste. The colorful nebulas are just chemical spills. The entire cosmic web, the massive filament structure that connects all the galaxies in the known universe, is just the settling pattern of debris at the bottom of a stagnant pond. This fundamentally changes the entire narrative of human existence. We have spent thousands of years looking up at the heavens with a sense of divine entitlement. We build towering cathedrals of glass and steel. We construct massive, groaning radio dishes in the desert, pointing them at the quiet dark, desperately waiting for a signal from an advanced alien civilization. We broadcast our location, our anatomy, our music into the void, assuming we are the brilliant, rising stars of a grand cosmic stage. We tell ourselves that we are the universe experiencing itself. We firmly believe that we are destined to colonize the galaxies and conquer the absolute dark. But the physics of the multiverse leak suggests a deeply humiliating truth. We are not the apex of a grand design. We are an accidental byproduct of a dimensional purge. We are the mold growing on the damp walls of a cosmic sewer pipe. The complex chemistry that sparked biological life on this wet rock we call Earth might be nothing more than the random mixing of chemical waste, dumped here billions of years ago from a higher reality that simply needed to empty its trash. The silence we hear when we listen to the stars is not the silence of an empty, waiting frontier. It is the deafening silence of an abandoned junkyard. The great civilizations we are looking for might have already lived, thrived, and been ground down into the invisible dark matter that currently suffocates our galaxy. And this leads to the ultimate, inescapable terror. If our universe is a receptacle, a vast cosmic landfill designed to catch the pulverized waste of apparent dimension, what happens when this container gets full? What happens when the underlying fabric of our own space-time begins to rot under the crushing weight of all this dead matter? Black holes are already forming by the millions in our own galaxies. They are growing, merging, and eating the light. Eventually, trillions of years from now, our universe will also become a dark, freezing expanse filled with nothing but supermassive black holes. And then, those black holes will open their own microscopic throats. They will violently flush the remains of our reality, the crushed data of our human history, out into yet another dark, empty void. The cycle of cosmic regurgitation will continue forever. If you dare to step outside tonight, let the cold air hit your face. Look up at the burning stars and the sweeping arm of the Milky Way. Accept the sickening possibility that you are not looking at a majestic creation, but a glittering, recycled wasteland. If you have the stomach to face the absolute, terrifying truth of our reality, do not look away. Stay here with Ten Ken Kuaban. We are not done tearing down the comfortable lies of modern science. Subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you think about the cosmic landfill. And prepare yourself for the next journey into the dark.